the agenda of media is to always make it look like there's a constant debate. Whereas when you put all of us in a room together with our differences of opinion, we basically all agree that everyone has a very good point to make here.
It's what sells: conflict, fighting. And when you think about that in real time, that's what's being created. Welcome to another episode of the Holistic Sister Circle. Today we have something very interesting, and it's called Your Happy Medium Debate: Vegans versus Meat Eaters. We actually get so many questions all of the time, all about what type of food should I actually be eating? Should I completely go with a plant-based lifestyle, solely vegan, or should I incorporate meat, lean meats in my diet? So today we have vegans versus meat eaters tell you their stories and welcome which one makes the most sense for you and your family. Now, in order for us to get this debate started, we want everyone to go ahead and mute your mics. So go ahead and mute your mic so there's no lagging. Each person will have 2 minutes to speak. Okay, 2 minutes on the clock. And we will go in order. All right. So I will call the first person to speak. Once I call that first person to speak, once that 2 minutes is up, I will call the next person until we get through everybody. And then I will also open it up for rebuttals. So after that 2 minutes is over, you will have anywhere between 2 to 3 minutes to call a rebuttal. By doing that, you will raise your hand. When you raise your hand, I will call on who the rebuttal is for, and then you can go ahead and share what rebuttal you may have at that time. Okay. So here are the rules. Does anyone have any questions before we get started? If you do, raise your hand now and I will call on you. Perfect. Awesome. So first up, we have Steph. I am going to share the question here on the screen. And as I share the question here on the screen, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself one more time to our audience. And then once you're done, go ahead and answer the question. So the question is, with so much conflicting research, how do we decide what's truly the healthiest diet for long-term wellness? Plant-based, meat inclusive, or something in between?
Okay. So my opinion on this is very much a balanced approach. So I was born and raised on a farm. So I've always eaten meat. That's always been inclusive into my diet. And as I've gotten older, I've continued that. Our family have always eaten meat. And I think it's really, to me, it's an individual approach. I think you have to really look at what your true values are. And if you feel that eating meat and a good variety of plant-based products sits well with you, then that's the approach that you should be taking. So I do think there is something in between. It really comes down to personal preference. The clients that I have, it's very much what you eat now or what you want to eat or how it looks for you. Can you sustain that for long-term health and wellness? For example, if you've got GI issues, things like that, and red meat particularly maybe causes gut inflammation, then you choose not to eat red meat. So yeah, I do think it's some kind of on the fence, really. Well, not on the fence, but in between. I think we all need a good variety of nutrition. So having meat as well as a good plant-based diet will give you that health and wellness. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Steph. Now, calling for rebuttals. Does anyone want to second Steph? No. Okay.
I would second Steph.
Okay. Let's go.
I appreciate, again, not rebutting. I would second what she has to say. I think that, and that conversation could go very deep as well about genetic predispositions. It needs to be an individual choice because everyone's so different. So I'm behind Steph on that 100%.
Awesome. All right, Sharon, you're up. Who are you? What do you do? And answering the question. You're muted.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah, you can?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so hi everyone. My name's Sharon. I'm a health and wellness coach, and I'm based in the UK, although my clients are all over the world, predominantly the US, actually, funny enough. I used to live in the US, so I've got quite a big following in the US. But I'm a health and wellness coach, and I'm on the plant-based side of the fence. It's a huge passion of mine. I haven't always been plant-based. So I was born in a small country called Gibraltar, which is on the southern tip of Spain. And so it's very much a Mediterranean diet that I grew up with. My father's a Mediterranean chef. He's a sort of a Spanish chef. So I grew up eating what the world believes to be the best diet in the world for health and wellness and longevity. So that's what I grew up with. But I've studied nutrition my entire life. And in actual fact, when I moved to the States when I was only 18 years old, that's what did it for me. I moved there, and within about 6 months of living in the States, I'd put on a load of weight. And I'm like, what am I doing differently? You know, so that then, I mean, this is 30 years ago, then the food was very different. Whereas now in the UK, the food's very much as it is in the US. But anyways, I that's what was my journey for studying nutrition, and it has my entire life. So I keep bang up to date with the nutrition. This one of the things that I find a bit of a problem are people that are working as sort of nutritional therapists or, you know, health coach that did their studying 20 years ago. You know, what we know today is very different to what we knew then. And so it's one thing I've always done is kept bang up to date and very individual as well. So when I work with my clients, it isn't, you know, a blueprint for everybody. Everybody is individual. Now, I said that I'm whole food plant-based. I don't like to call myself vegan because veganism is a belief system. So it's more than just the food you eat. So you won't wear leather shoes or anything like that. So I don't call myself a vegan. I'm purely whole food plant-based for my health, my wellness. My children are as well. My mother is, my mother-in-law, you know, most people around me are, and it shows because everybody's fit and healthy and well. My 6-year-old's never had any kind of meat or dairy or eggs or fish, and she's never had as much as a sniffly nose. I mean, the proof is in the pudding for me personally. But when it comes to working with my clients, we look at everybody individually. I'd never say to any of my clients, you need to go whole food plant-based to get well. So it is very individual. So I do work, I could talk to you for hours how I work, but I work, as Steph said, everybody has individual needs and not everybody would probably survive on a blueprint diet that I would give them. So my mantra is that we should all be centenarians in training. And so my teachers, my only teachers today are the people that actually are living to be 100, disease-free, pain-free, and medication-free. And so that's my bottom line, and that's what I work from, and that's who I sort of look for and obsess over. I do obsess over 100-year-olds. It's crazy pants, but that's what I do. But I just think if you're going to learn from anyone, you're going to learn from the people that are doing it today. And if we're not careful, those people are going to become extinct because more and more people are living to 80s and 90s propped up on medication. It's the only way it's keeping them alive. And it's my passion to get more and more people living to a ripe old age, disease-free, pain-free, and medication-free. And it's a pleasure. It's my absolute passion and joy.
Thanks, Sharon. Does anyone have a rebuttal? Steph, you're up.
Just on the age thing, I would just like to say my nan is 102 and she has always been a meat eater. They were born and raised on a farm as well. She is in a rest home and she's only on minimum medication. So I think genetics play a part in how you live as well. So my husband keeps saying that I'm going to be living forever. So I think that has a factor in it as well. So I just wanted to sort of put that out there.
Totally agree. And you know what? You're going to get someone that will say to me, they say it to me, well, my grandmother's 102 and she smokes 50 cigarettes a day. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, there are
Totally.
you know, there's people out there that are just against all and that, but they're the minority. The majority of people that are living to be 80 are on some sort of medication and have some sort of chronic disease. Absolutely 100%. Hence why, thankfully, medical science has come a long way and we're allowed to live a longer life, but only because of medical science. We're not living a healthier life, a longer life, because of our own health and wellness. We are being propped up by big pharma, unfortunately, and that's my issue. And like I said, it is the majority when we're talking, not individuals. You're going to get the individual that lives to 120 and, you know, 100. Well, I think the oldest person in the world lives 116 and she lives in England. But no, they're not all whole food plant-based. So let me tell you, they don't. They all eat a bit of meat here and a little bit of fish here. It's just people come to me when we're making them well, when I'm reversing their lifestyle disease. So they've got type 2 diabetes. They'll come to me and we'll put them on a program. It's a very strict, intense program, and we reverse type 2 diabetes. Then they can go on living their life. Once your body's fit and well and healthy, you can have meat, fish, and dairy. I just look at whole food plant-based food as medicine. And that's
Totally.
healing. It heals your body. Once your body's healed, then go ahead and just don't overdo it. So many people have meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, for goodness sakes. It's an overkill, and it's causing chronic diseases, not just meat, but dairy more so.
Awesome. Next up, we have Candace. Candace, state who you are, what you do, and answer the question.
Hello. My name is Candace. I am a registered nurse. I have also helped coach people with weight loss using a whole food plant-based diet. I would really like to zero in on the part of the question that says, with so much conflicting research, and it just has taken me back to nursing school and having to write so many papers. And there's a requirement to have tons and tons of research for one paper. And the frustration that I always had was I would look at the title, look at the abstract, and I'm like, yes, this is it. And I would read the research article, and it wasn't claiming clear and dry what the abstract said. So in terms of, you know, how to decide when you're looking at data or research, it's very important. You know, you can almost find an opposing view to any positive research, you know, for either side. And I think it's important for, you know, to do your due diligence, you know, to look into them and not just take one study and then, you know, run with that to run your whole life. You know, I've been whole food plant-based for 8 years, of, you know, reversed my autoimmune disease. And what I've found, though, is that the term wellness, that I like to zero in on that also, that it's just not about food. And I found that out on with myself. Like, I have to sleep well, I have to exercise, and that all, you know, the food was very helpful, but it wasn't a silver bullet. You know, I just had to have everything into place, stress management. And I think that that's really important. What I also think is very important is to always add a lot of whole food plant-based foods to your diet even if you are a meat eater. You know, I am convinced that the large majority of issues that people are having is because of sedentary lifestyle and a high amount of processed foods in their diet, you know. And I think anybody would have a remarkable change in their health if they eliminated processed foods, were active to whatever degree that looks like for them, you know, sleep well. I think, you know, that would make a tremendous change in their health. So that's kind of where I stand. Well, that's where I stand right now on, you know, which side you should go on. Like, I feed my children a plant-based diet and they do well with it. But I've seen people do well. My mother, she's 69, doesn't take any medicine, not a supplement, not anything. She's very high whole food plant-based, but she still eats animal products. So I don't think there's anything remarkable about her genetically, but it's just to see what lifestyle, she's still very active, exercises almost daily. And I just see how, the whole lifestyle makes a big impact.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace. Does anyone have a rebuttal?
I think, sorry, yeah. I didn't turn my mic off. Sorry, yeah. So we're kind of singing from the same song sheet, and I totally agree with, if it works well for you, to keep it going. I mean, some of my clients, they'll do whole food plant-based program with me, but once they're well, they go off and they go and eat a little bit of meat, fish, and dairy here and there. And these centenarians that I study, they do exactly like your mum, Candice. They will eat it, but they'll eat it in moderation, knowing not to be greedy with it. Is what the society has become. And absolutely 100%, these people that are living disease-free, pain-free, medication-free to 100 years old, which human beings should be living to, are definitely eating a little bit. I'm talking once a week at the most, maybe an egg a day, literally, not what people are eating today. So yeah, totally agree with Candice.
Awesome. Next up, we have Jennifer. Who you are, what do you do? Answer to the question.
Hi, guys. So I am Jennifer Brookby. I'm an RN holistic health coach and an Ayurvedic health coach. So I coach my clients mostly on individualizing their lifestyle based on their Ayurvedic dosha. So maybe not everybody will know what the dosha type is, but it's just identifying different mind body types. And so in Ayurveda, we have these different types. And when we can kind of crack the code, we know what types of foods, what types of exercise, even how much sleep will be better for us, and how that can be different for different people. And I love Ayurveda for that reason. It actually really brings in what everybody else is saying here, that we all need to look at it individualized. Not everybody is going to do great on a whole food, plant-based diet, 100% animal product free. And not everyone is going to do great on a completely carnivore diet. I've been on both sides of the fence. I grew up in a standard American diet home. And then because of some health issues, I went completely paleo for about 10 years. And I wasn't a paleo type that had bacon for breakfast. I was just focusing mostly on reducing processed foods, grains, unhealthy grains like processed breads and things. I might even during that time have some oatmeal or rice. But I just got away from the sugar and the processed and all that junk. And the one thing that I think we're all saying here is that regardless of what you're eating, you really need to be eating your fruits and vegetables. And in Ayurveda, we understand that there's actual life energy in everything that we eat. And fruits and vegetables contain the most amount of what we call prana in Ayurveda. So particularly when you're battling disease, I would be the first proponent. I did 2 years of veganism when I came to Ayurveda, as a side note there. And I personally believe that if I'm going to go on a health journey and I want to do a really good detox, that shifting the diet to a whole food, plant-based way of eating for a period of time was very, very beneficial for me. It didn't turn out to be a long-term good thing for me. But I think that going for that, getting those animal products out for a while to let the body kind of clear of built up toxins and things like that can be a very good thing. But that is the beauty of it. In Ayurveda, we also know that we need to come back to some heavier foods, some animal products, depending on that constitutional type. And then there are body types that just do better to stay away from those heavier foods, and animal products do tend to be heavy. Yogurt, meat, they are just heavy in nature. So I think, again, it's very specific to the person. When you look at research, like Candace was talking about, both of us being nurses, we know a little bit about research. And the problem with research on the biological sciences, the human sciences, is that there's too many what's called confounding variables. And that's just that they do a study comparing meat eaters against vegan eaters. And they're like, oh, well, this is what we found, and we can say that it raised LDL here, so that means it's definitely bad for heart disease, and that's related to meat eating diets. But then when you look at it, they didn't measure stress levels or lack of sleep, to Candace's point. Those confounding variables make it impossible to have like a really fair look at research, which is why you can have all this conflicting research. That is exactly why it happens. And in biological science, we just can't have proof. We can only have evidence. We have evidence here and evidence there. And in any research study, there's just too many confounding variables. So again, you need to look at your genetics. You need to have, the types of, you can do testing to really look at what your body type will benefit from. If you're struggling with metabolic syndrome, you probably want to steer away from some of the grains for a while and get more on that, health, meats and vegetables, and staying away from the starchy stuff. That's been proven to be better for metabolic syndrome. So again, so variable, so individualized. And that's why we have all that conflicting research, in my opinion.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. Any rebuttals? All right, Steph.
Can I just add, I love everyone's opinions, by the way. I think we're kind of all on the same fence, but just adding with the research, because I deal with and coach perimenopausal women, as you enter into perimenopause, your cholesterol can automatically go up for no reason. Your sleep can be disrupted, and a lot of health issues can actually occur just by entering into perimenopause. So you're right, the research is really shit, really, because, depending on the age of the person that they're comparing to, it can be a little bit conflicting, and that's nothing really to do with food as such, but just to state that your body can go into a bad change as such, just by entering into perimenopause. So
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. All right. Next up, we have Alyssa. Alyssa, who you are, what do you do, and answer to the question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alyssa Luce, also known as Veggie Godmother. I am a detox consultant and a women's retreat host. As for the question, I have so many points to bring up. And as for what all of our sisters have pointed out so far, number one, my response to this question is listen to someone who has been where you are and has what you want. So if your health goal is to live a long time and you want to stay a size 2, you can't eat 3 meals a day and eat, heavy meat-based, animal-based meals and expect for that to be your health reality. You have to listen to people who have what you want, have been where you are, and that is how you will know what is best for you in terms of a healthy dietary lifestyle. That's number one. And the same with the research. How are you going to listen to scientists who, number one, get funding most of the time from companies who want to increase their side of evidence, right? A lot of these companies that produce animal products will usually fund studies in order to make it look like their products are beneficial to consumers. But knowing that if these scientists don't even consume these products, nor do the producers consume these products, why do they fund research studies in order to encourage people that their products are healthy, knowing that they aren't? So that's another thing to really consider when it comes to conflicting research. Is like, do these people have what I want? And if they don't even listen to the research. It's not worth it. And in addition to that, a lot of times you should only be gaining counsel from these people. Many of our sisters here have said that they are coaches and they work with clients to help them with their health journey. You should be listening to people who have what you want and been where you are, and you get counsel from them. You don't do what they say verbatim. You ultimately listen to yourself. So if you know how you feel when you live a plant-based lifestyle versus including meat, that will tell you right there what is best for you. But in terms of what's the healthiest diet overall, everyone should be eating whole foods and you should be eating locally grown whole foods. I'm someone who lives in New York City. There's not many farms near me. Stephanie said she had the privilege of growing up on a farm. Everyone dreams of that. Everyone I talk to is like, I can't wait to create my own compound and grow my own food. That's literally every city kid's dream. But our food is processed and transported from places like South America. That's many, many, many hours of processing and delivery that goes into that food that's depleted in nutrients. So, it's definitely challenging depending on where you live. But then again, you can always change your environment by changing who you are, by changing what you do. So ultimately, you have to know what you want. If, like I said in the beginning, you want to live to 100 and stay a size 2 that entire time, you have to put into action the necessary steps in order to have your health goal. So the first step to this question is know what your health goal is, and then work with what works best for you and know how you feel when you're doing it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa. Any rebuttals? All right. Next up, we have Ashley. Ashley, who you are, what do you do, and answer to the question.
Hey guys, my name is Ashley and I am a medical esthetician. I'm also an international fitness competitor with the WBFF fitness brand and a busy mom, also a wellness coach. And I have really a passion to empower people with knowing the knowledge of good nutrition inside and it reflects on the outside. So beauty kind of inside out. And I'm happy to be here. And then the question, did you want me to answer the question? I love hearing everybody's point of views. I feel like we all have the common denominator of us all thinking the whole foods is definitely like a great contributor because it's basically what we were meant to be eating. And I always love to say the power is in the food. I feel like the world, big pharma being a big part of it, has just always been trying to force us to think we need this and that, and it's fragmented, and we don't even know where it's coming from. We don't even know the certifications that stand behind it to say what it is what it is. And you girls are right, I think, about the research, because you don't know really where that research is coming from, the behind the scenes, who's pushing what narrative to make you think and feel a certain way. Even when I had my child, they said that she was a big child on the birth rate of what children were weighing, but who's to say that she was a healthy child? And so, like, that's just an example of how, the research can be a little muddled with how it comes across to us. I really think of a flexitarian kind of approach, which it's whole foods where you're eating more fish. I mean, fish and some red meats, not all red meats. And everybody, like you said, everybody is case different. I always say we're all like snowflakes. We're all completely different. And so what works for me might not work with you because we all have different schedules, different daily demands, different things that we live our life on. I think that balancing whole food nutrition and using that food to be your medicine, and getting ample physical activity is very important. Because it's amazing how much people are quick to kind of get a pill or something as a quick fix, but actually taking a walk, journaling, being around positive people, eating good food, it's that really that synergy and that balance. Because you can get your phyto and macronutrition easily through whole foods. There's so much nutrients. There's like over, what is it, 11,000 nutrients in one apple, like biotin, glucosamine, glutamine, all the things that we've been taught by the world to buy separately in like a vitamin store or something. Yet there's no regulations of what's actually in those. There's rare to find NSF or kosher certifications on any of those supplementation. So I think you guys are all hitting the nail on the head and getting the common denominator of whole food nutrition and a balance, and that everybody really is different. Because I've seen people that have tried to compete on a fitness level that are all vegan and they are able to do it. But when you want to put on certain amounts of muscle, you're going to have to eat some more fish and some red meats. Not a lot, but you're going to have to get more ample sources of protein in different ways because you're kind of limited in certain areas when you have it plant-based, but it is a great way of healthy living. And so mine's more of a flexitarian kind of standpoint. I have tried all red meat and body inflames a lot. I find that with more plant-based and spinach and greens and eating the rainbow and educating people do that really helps children with ADHD and a lot of other problems that come from people eating dyes and GMO products and artificial flavors. I kind of tell people to stay on the outside rings of a grocery store where the produce is and stuff like that. So yes, I'm kind of verifying everything that you girls are saying is pretty much the same, that we really think there's power in whole food nutrition. It's just, it's so interesting. I've never heard it said in so many different ways. So this is really a great idea.
Amazing. Well, it sounds like we have our happy medium. I love it. Jennifer has a rebuttal.
I don't have a rebuttal. I actually want to say, like, I think all entered into this conversation under the pretense of it being a debate. And I was on the debate team and I've seen so little debating on this call. And I think it's awesome because what point I want to make, and I think that is an overarching theme we need to all be aware of, and it appears that everyone here is that the primary problem that we have is not that research will always be conflicting. You'll always have one narrative trying to press theirs and one side trying to press their narrative. That's the case no matter what we're talking about: food, exercise, medical research, period, whatever, doesn't matter. But and then all the conflicting variables like I was talking about. But the thing that stands out the most to me is the fact that the agenda of media is to always make it look like there's a constant debate. Whereas when you put all of us in a room together with our differences of opinion, we basically all agree that everyone has a very good point to make here. And I think everybody would say that you need to increase your whole food, plant-based aspect of your plate. And if you're going to toss a little meat on there for building muscle purposes or for getting whatever, a heavier aspect into your diet, then more power to you if that works for you. And so at the end of the day, the conflicting data is out there to maybe create debates that don't actually exist when we come to the table. And I think that's awesome.
Look at you go. I love that. Beautifully said. But
I gave you goosebumps, by the way.
And I will say too, to that from a media perspective, just so you all are aware of this as well, it's what sells. Conflict, fighting. Yesterday I was watching a movie. This is a little off topic, but yesterday I was watching a movie and I was talking to my stepdaughter and she goes, "Miss V, I love when I can just like watch some people in action going at it." And I said, "Well, why would you like that?" And she was like, "I don't know. I think it's just kind of fun, but I don't want the drama in my life, but I like to watch other people's drama." And when you think about that in real time, that's what's being created. A lot of drama to get you to watch it. But then in reality, a lot of the people who are in that type of drama aren't even actually doing those things from a media perspective.
100%.
So,
agree.
Totally see that. All right. Candace, I know you have to jump, so it's okay if you're leaving. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And we'll move on to the next question. All right. So next question is, many people say eating meat is harmful to the environment, but others argue that modern farming practices for plant-based foods are equally unsustainable. Where's the balance? Ashley, we're going to start with you. State your name, what you do, and then answer to the question. Ashley, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Sorry. My name is Ashley, and I would say that you really just kind of talks about like regenerative farming and sustainable sourcing. Like you want to know where the products are coming from, and you want to get good, like organic, whole foods. And they say it's harmful for the the environment. Well, like getting like grass fed, like healthier farmed raised animals. And I don't know, I don't really think it's harmful for the environment if it's created in a good environment. I can't speak of really how they do it on the industrial side, where they're like, doing the chickens and cages and all the different things and doing bad for the pigs. But if you're choosing to eat meat that is like from real farms, that is farm raised, grass fed, you're going to get some that are nurtured by nature, because we were born and raised to, like, I always said, we got to get back to the garden, get back to where we came from. And we were meant to eat like the plants and the fruits and the nuts and those animals, in moderation. I guess we can, but as long as they're not like tortured, that kind of stuff, I could see where people could say that's harmful for the environment, because I've seen some really like horrific stories and movies and all the things. But it's interesting, like what you said about conflict, that you don't really see many coming out showing the good, like all the good USA farms where all the like vine ripened like fruits and vegetables and all that stuff are coming from. But I don't think eating meat, if it's from a good source, necessarily is harmful for the environment, when they were created to be on the environment for us, or for the environment in general. Like our ancestors have been eating like from the earth too, like from fish and catching fish in the sea, or if some people hunt and they eat deer, and it's just kind of like the nature of the progression of life. But that could be a slippery slope for some to answer. But it's a really great question for debate. But I don't really think it's harmful for the environment in a sense. But then again, there's always that side that makes it harmful because they don't do it like in a nice, humane way. So that's kind of like my status. I guess I'll be like Switzerland on that one a little bit, because to me, I feel like it's not harmful because we're meant to eat of the earth, but there are the people that are gonna not do it in a great way that could be not good for the environment.
Awesome. Thank you. Does anyone have a rebuttal? All right. Alyssa, you're up.
Hey, my name is Alyssa once again. I'm a detox consultant and a retreat host for women. So, in terms of this question right here, when they say meat is harmful for the environment, they're talking about the majority of producing meat, like the practices that these corporations have. Fun fact, there's about 3 main chicken breeders in America that all produce companies get their chickens from. And these companies genetically modify these chickens in order to have a high profit yield on these chickens. And that's just one type of animal-based product that is produced. When it comes to dairy farms, when it comes to, pigs and things, if you ever do any kind of research on how these animals are produced for their product, it is very harmful. The way that they leave these towns and cities in complete waste and ridden with terrible putrefying smells is honestly sad. And that's really the part that is harmful. Like my sister was saying before, if it's done in a way that is sustainable, then it wouldn't be harmful. But like I said, I live in a city. Most people that live in cities, they're not out here farming, growing their own cows to eat fresh meat. It's just not realistic. The same thing with, plant-based farms. Yeah, you can grow a little garden here and there, but the real issue comes when these corporations are trying to turn a profit from the work that they have real people doing. Even with plant farms that grow real food, they're using pesticides, herbicides, they're using genetically modified seeds. This is also harmful to the environment. We're completely changing the way that food is grown, and we're changing the DNA of food, therefore changing the DNA of the people that consume these foods. So I think the real happy balance is when the consumer begins to advocate for more natural foods, for more real whole foods. And we have way more power than we even realize. And having these conversations educate people to advocate for themselves, because we're the ones eating it. So I think it's really important that people do their own research of, hey, where is this apple even coming from? Where did the food on my plate come from? And then we will have real change in these corporations.
Awesome. Any rebuttals? All right, Jennifer, you're up.
So I totally agree with Alyssa that again, it's comes back down to putting the responsibility back in the individual. I personally have grown up in Oklahoma, and so getting our hands on red meat is no problem at all. We, usually know the rancher from the cows we receive, and we'll buy a half cow at a time and deep freeze it. I am able to drive just about 30 minutes from my house and get raw milk. I mean, raw milk straight out of the cow. And we also get our eggs from that location. And now I'm actually working on, to your point, Alyssa, becoming more responsible about where we get our chickens. Because I've become aware over the years that no matter what the package says, it says no antibiotics or whatever, that's not true. And again, this could be true for plant-based things. The point is that if the FDA can lie to us about animal foods, they can lie to us about plant-based foods too. And I think we just have to be aware that then we're basically being lied to no matter what we're eating. And so being more proactive about where our foods are coming from. I've actually found a local farmer now where I can start getting some real chicken that's not 3 times the size it should be as a result of all of the hormones that they're pumping into the chickens. It's absolutely terrible. So again, in agreement with you ladies that we just need to have personal responsibility and not have any culpability in supporting these inhumane practices, because there is a way to, whether it's plants or animals, there is a way to sustain farming. And actually, I think it's more supportive of the small farmers anyway. Like, we have to think about it that way too. These big companies are pushing out small farming and making it difficult for those families to make a living doing what they're really good at and producing a higher quality product, because it's so much easier for us to go to Walmart or go to whatever it is and just purchase from the big seller. So again, kind of like saying, I think one of the things that kept me from trying to move towards finding those fresh eggs and that fresh raw milk was, it's 30 minutes from my house, whereas the grocery store is like 5 minutes, and it's so much easier. But again, it's no, I'm going to be responsible. We're going to go every 7 to 10 days and get enough milk for that period of time. And we're going to support that local farmer with that much higher quality product, and just start taking some personal accountability for where I'm getting my foods. So I agree with that. I actually also have, and I hate the fact I have to ship it, but again, living in Oklahoma, there's no way to get some of the seafood. So Wild Alaskan, they sustainably source that in Alaska, and then they flash freeze the salmon and ship it to us. And it's a really good quality product. But it took me years to move away from the what's easy, what's close, and what's probably made in a way that we shouldn't be eating it in the first place, let alone supporting a company that would run business like that. So I agree with you, ladies.
Awesome. Any rebuttals? Sharon, you're up. Name, what do you do? Answer to the question.
Hi again. Oh, this is so wonderful. I love hearing you all. I agree with you, Jennifer. It's like I expected some kind of debate and we're all going to be like fighting our own corner, but that's not what's happening. This is so wonderful. And especially for somebody like me who is plant-based through and through, for me and my family, even though I don't do that necessarily in my coaching business, I do have a lot of defense ready when someone comes at me with like, you need to eat meat for protein. It's like, oh gosh, but this is so wonderful. We have meat eaters here and we're all, really enjoying this conversation. So thank you so much. Now, the environment, you guys are all, you've highlighted the whole local thing, and I think that's great. But I think when you're talking about the environment, we need to talk on a bigger scale globally and the planet Earth. Now, animal agriculture is the #1 big problem that we have on planet Earth. We have rainforest jungles being cut down as we speak per minute. And that is not just for animal agriculture grazing land. It's actually for the soy and the grain to feed the amount of cattle that are being grazed for the huge quantities of meat that humans are demanding today. Now, so the fact that I think all of us here, we probably, the ones that do eat meat, probably eat it in moderation by the sounds of it. Most people don't. Most people will have bacon for breakfast, a ham sandwich for lunch, and then a steak for dinner. And it's crazy. We're not sustaining that amount of meat. Well, we are, but we're damaging our planet in the process. So if everybody was like us and ate meat in moderation once or twice a week, or even once a day in a small portion, you're going to reduce chronic diseases, and B, you're going to save the planet, because we're going to have allow our rainforests to grow back, allow nature to take course. And it isn't just the land, we're also talking about the seas. Our oceans are hugely overfished, way too overfished. And I think 50 years ago it was really healthy to say go and have some fish from the ocean, but today it's questionable. We don't have enough fish in our oceans right now for the biodiversity that we need for the planet Earth to survive, and it is a serious problem in the ocean. So when we're talking about environment, I like to look at it as a much bigger picture. Yeah, we can do our part and buy locally as much as we can. Inevitably, that's not going to work for a lot of people, because it is like 10 times the price. I mean, these poor individual farmers that live down the road from you, they can't cope. They can't price match the big companies like Walmart, for example, and the meats that they have. Even if they sell an organic meat, it's still a third cheaper than if you were to go to your local farmer. So not everyone can afford to do that. Whole food plant-based living, however, is hell of a lot cheaper. You don't have any of that to worry about. And as long as you stick to organic, you're saving the planet and you're saving yourself from chronic disease. So overall, yes, too much meat is destroying the environment without a doubt, no question in my mind. And hence why I really advocate increase big time. I work on an 80-20 rule. 80% of the time we should all be eating whole food plant-based. 20%, my 20% might be junk food vegan. So if I go to a restaurant and they only have a vegan burger on the dish, I'm like, great, it's not even, my God, it's vegan, but it's not whole food plant-based. Then that's my 20%. I'll eat junk food vegan. And there are many, many malnourished, overweight, ill vegans too. So hence it's very different. But yeah, definitely 100% harmful to the environment. Way, way too many people eat too much meat, causing environmental issues. And then equally, so it says practices for plant-based foods. There's no comparison. So people say, oh, what about, I get this all the time, so they're cutting down the rainforest to grow corn and to grow soy. I mean, hundreds and hundreds of acres daily. When you know, if you don't know, I'd research it because it is scary. And one person said to me, well, what about the soy we need for your tofu? It's like, if you could see, we don't need a rainforest to grow soy for human beings. There are more cattle on planet Earth than there are human beings. That's how crazy it is. There's more living cattle than human beings, and yet they're for our food, and it's not sustainable. So that is a big topic that I think isn't spoken about enough as a wider picture. Yeah, shop locally as much as you can, but it's not doable for most people.
Awesome. Thanks, Sharon. Any rebuttals? Perfect. Steph, you're up. Name, what do you do, and answer to the question.
Hi guys, I'm Steph. I'm predominantly a perimenopause coach, so I coach women in perimenopause, and a personal trainer and nutritional coach. This is quite a sticky subject or question, really. My question is, for all you plant-based eaters, how is that food produced? As in tractors. So that's part of the environment. Okay, so we need to look at that as well. Yes, animal-based, I eat animals, obviously, but their farm environment, like especially here in New Zealand, we don't keep adding paddocks and paddocks and cutting down trees for more stock. What they have, generally farmers have, is what they have for their stock, so they break feed, etc. When you're looking at plants, they still have to be planted by tractors and then produced and then driven down the road into the factory, etc. So that puts pressure on the environment because of all the petrol emissions, because you're not going to get a battery powered or electric tractor. Okay, so that's kind of my thing. These I don't really want to say greenies, but they will speak about the environment a lot, but then they're driving a diesel or a petrol car. So that kind of, we're kind of swinging a little bit there. But when it comes to the environment, I think both parties have a play in it. I always laugh when we were in COVID lockdown, and they're going on and on about the farmers being bad for the environment, etc. But where was all the emissions and that coming from when we had the lockdown? The cows were still pooping and peeing, and the farmers were still producing milk and meat, etc., for us to eat. Yet all the smog and everything, there was none happening when you looked at the Earth from space, because nothing was running. So I kind of have a little bit of a thing there. I think with both sides have a role to play. If we all went purely plant-based, I think that would put more pressure on the environment, because we would have to produce so much more paddocks to grow avocados, which actually need a lot of water to grow. So that puts pressure on the environment. So yeah, it's kind of, we all have to work together, I think, to create and look after the environment and eat locally if you can. In New Zealand, we don't have caged chickens now. They're all free range. That's part of it, and to do with the pigs and that as well. So I think quite blessed to live in New Zealand because it's quite a green environment, I think. But both sides need to play a more sustainable role in how they practice, I think.
Awesome. Thank you, Steph. Any rebuttals? I knew Alyssa would rebuttal.
Just really quick, anyone listening, anyone that is actually intrigued by what Steph shared about the whole tractor thing, look at the actual percentages, just because I don't know it off the top of my head, but I once researched this. Look at the actual percentages versus like the methane gas produced by, let's say, a dairy farm compared to the percentage of the amount of waste petroleum puts out into the environment. They're not at all equal, and the methane is actually much larger. So yeah, you can make that argument of we're driving diesel and stuff, but long term, we know what the real issue is, and we can't just use that one little wrench and monkey wrench thrown in.
So I would just say about that, like I don't know anything about tractor emissions or any of that, but here's the deal. If we're going to say that eating local is ultimately better, and I would agree that there's strong ground for this, because you can put health bonuses on either side. There's certainly good research for whole food being good for health and animal food being good for health. But ultimately, if we tried to stay local, there is nowhere around me that I can go right now to get a bag of rice other than Walmart, or a thing of oats other than Walmart. And that had to be flown in here or trucked in here. But I can get to a farm and get the cow, and I can get to a farm and get chickens and milk and eggs and all those things. And I have my own garden here in my home. So I could live on meats and vegetables, and I'd still have to fly in, the grains, because it's not something I can locally get here. So again, that's going to be different for each person where they're located. And that but that's why the local diet, if we want to just look about getting local in what we eat, it would vary from person to person. An Oklahoman, we got cows everywhere I go. I'm passing them all the time, but I'm not going to pass any places to pick up grain other than the grocery store, and that would have been brought in. So, anyways.
Any other rebuttals? Steph?
Yeah, absolutely, totally agree. Like, we have to be realistic that we can't, no one in the world, you can't just eat local. There's certain products that we have to transport and bring into the country. Like, you know, New Zealand's just a little country down sort of at the bottom. So yeah, I totally agree. But trying to do your best to eat locally if you can and support the local farmers, whether they're producing plants or stock, I think is the way to go. But yeah, absolutely, we have to have a variety in our diet. We have to obviously buy it from out of state or out of country. That's just being realistic, really.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We have about 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left. So in this next 5 minutes, I just want you to share, each of you, who you are one more time, what you do, and how we can connect with you further from this conversation. Steph, start us off.
Okay, so I'm Steph from New Zealand. I'm a personal trainer and a nutritional coach, primarily focusing on women 40 plus. You can reach me on Facebook and Instagram. For women only, I have a Fit and Fabulous Facebook group where it's predominantly we talk about women's health, entering into perimenopause, all that amazing time. You ladies here don't actually look like you're entering into peri yet. You look all so young and youthful. But yes, so Instagram handle, I think it's called, not very techie here, but you will know that. It's just Stephanie Musham, evolved by Steph, I think. So would love to have you on board. And if anyone's interested in delving into the perimenopause side of things, we're all going to go through it. There's no getting away from it. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. Sharon? Who you are, what do you do, and how we can connect with you further.
I should be perimenopausal. I'm nearly 50, but it hasn't touched me yet, thank goodness. And it must be the plants. Anyway, so yeah, I'm a homeschool mum of 2 girls. First and foremost, is my main priority. But I am also a health and wellness coach, and predominantly I help women. Now they just happen to be over the age of 40, because I think that's the time that chronic diseases and lifestyle related diseases start kicking in, like perimenopause age almost. And we find that a lot of 50-year-old women are coming to me that they know they should be eating more plants, but they just don't know how, or they've tried and they're bored shitless because it's like lentils and lettuce. And this is the problem that we get, is a lot of people, they know they should be increasing their whole food plant-based, but they don't know how, or they might try it and then lose interest because it just all tastes vile. And so you do kind of have to learn how to cook all over again. And that's why it's great to have a coach to help you there. Like, for example, I always use this analogy. If you're an alcoholic and you want to stop drinking, you're not going to just say to someone, oh, just stop drinking alcohol, you'll be fine. You won't be an alcoholic anymore. And it's the same, people with food, so many people are addicted to different foods. It's an addiction. They don't realize it, but it is. I mean, sugar being one of the biggest. It's harder to get off sugar than it is Class A drugs because it's so readily available. And so I do believe that having a coach to help you through that, almost like Alcoholics Anonymous, like we can show you how to eat more whole food plant-based with the most incredibly delicious dishes. I mean, you give me any meat dish, and I will hack the hell out of it to make it hopefully plant-based, and you will love it. You know, there is ways and means, and this is where I come in. So I'm a whole food plant-based coach. We start off that way to get you well. Once you're well, we'll then talk about the rest of your life and living to 100. This is what you need to do. But first things first, we need to get you well. We need to reverse any lifestyle related disease, and that is done super fast when you're on my program. But I have a school. I don't know if you guys have heard of School, SKOOL. It's a relatively new platform, and I've got a school on there called WFPB School, obviously standing for Whole Food Plant-Based School. It's only just going live now, and what it is bringing all of my courses, my books, my tips, tricks, recipes, tutorials, everything in one place. So today I'm kind of like pushing everyone to there, because it is a free community you can join without all the what do you call them, the face, you know, the keyboard warriors interrupting and, you know, causing a problem. So WFPB School, that's where you can find me, and I've got the link. If you look on my Facebook page, the link is in my bio for that. And yeah, my mantra is also, let's get back to being human beings, because I think so many people have veered away from the meaning, what it means to be a human being. They're kind of accepting the fact that it's okay to live on medication to survive. People have high blood pressure. They're okay with that because they can take a high blood pressure tablet for the rest of their lives, and they're okay with that. So, and that isn't living life as a human being. So my thing is, let's all get back to being human beings. Let's reverse all this nonsense, chronic diseases that we don't need to be having. And that's what I do. That's what I help people do.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. We are 1 minute over. If anyone has to go, I totally understand. We're all business owners here. So if you have to go, that's totally fine. And we have 2 more. So Jennifer, go ahead, tell us what you do, who you are, and how we can connect with you further.
So again, I'm Jennifer Brookby. I am an RN holistic health coach and holistic Ayurvedic coach, and I coach women perimenopausal and definitely all types of fertility related issues, as well as autoimmunity. That's what I primarily focus on, and I use an Ayurvedic approach. So we individualize their particular plan based on their body type. So you can find me on Facebook mainly. I'm expanding onto Instagram soon, but right now, Facebook, Jennifer Brookby, and then I have a group of women that are just, you know, learning so much about individualized protocols, and that group is called Ayurveda and Homeopathy for Holistic Health. So find me there.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer.
Mhm.
And last but not least, Alyssa, who you are, what do you do, and how we can connect with you further.
Sir, my name is Alyssa Luce. Once again, you can find me on any social media platform at Veggie Godmother. You can also check out my Facebook groups called Plant Parenthood. May also be called Conscious Plant Parenthood. I haven't been on social media in a while because I've been doing real life work. A detox consultant at a studio here in New York. So I help people to detox their body by way of colon hydrotherapy, saunas, infrared services, and lymphatic drainage services. So I'm all about detoxing the body, rewiring the mind, and clarifying your dreams so that way we can execute them, right? So I'm also a retreat host. I'll be hosting a women's retreat this year in September, actually next weekend in South Carolina, September 12th to the 15th. And at these retreats, we help pour into women so when they go home, they have the vitality and the divine purpose to pour into their families and help create a prosperous generation, because as women, all of us have that divine right and authority to do so. You know, we're raising up the future leaders of this earth. So I think it's really important for us to start with ourselves. So like I said, if you want to connect with me on social media for now, you can find me at Veggie Godmother. And thank you so much to Vier for hosting us here on the Holistic Sister Podcast Circle. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you to all of our speakers. Again, if you need to connect with them further, you're more than welcome to do so. And it sounds like we actually have come to a happy medium. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next time.